for some reason, you know, when you pick dates, when you create miners or stakes on things like HEX, you know, or just in general, I have this weird, this really weird knack for picking the strangest dates. And some of them have turned out, like this date, to symbolize a date, to represent a date, whereby GameStop decided to enter into a $45 million share agreement. Now, I don't know if anyone's been following the whole diamond hands. I don't know if you're familiar with that terminology, if you are in crypto, but generally, the too long didn't read is you're going to buy and never ever sell. Now, the reason I find this funny because sometimes within cryptocurrency spheres, people say that they are diamond-handed when on-chain data clearly indicates the opposite. The opposite of that. It's almost I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing to say that you're diamond-handed when you're not actually diamond-handed. Now I'll just double check this is actually on Twitter going out, but I'm not really sure who's going to hear this. I'm not really sure who's going to care because I don't know if you're going to say it's the Matrix fault. The Matrix is actually coming to attack us all. Or is it that we're failing some IQ test? Now, I know a lot of streaming these days is becoming extremely irrelevant because of the rise of AI. And things like, you know, the ability to simply search, you know, what is the GameStop enters 45 million share agreement? What does it mean? Long story short, dilution. That is most likely what I read. I had a brief understanding of what was taking place. I'm like, that can't be right. They're going to sell 45 million shares. We create 45 million shares and then sell them, you know. I'm guessing people are going to be expecting some volatility. This article has a long way to go about saying that, yeah, there's basically potential dilution, you know, for existing shareholders. Could mean it means that what I was holding, right, there's 45 million more of them. So if you're familiar with inflation and your purchasing power being reduced, that is most likely what is going to take place on a particular stonk like GME. And I haven't looked at AMC, which is the other one, but I don't know. And the timing though is just fascinating because it's, you know, it makes me really wonder whether I should have really dumped all my Pulse HEX. No, I didn't. But it really makes you wonder, like, everything's pumping because of, I don't know why, just a random internet meme and people talking about how they like it so much and people going, oh yeah, it's not a bad idea. Ultimately making their own decision. Followed by huge price movements, followed by this. It's almost like the company themselves, you know, sort of they don't want people to diamond hand their shit. All you can do is laugh. I know, right? Now, thank you for, wait, I think it's my own self watching myself anyway. I'll just go over to YouTube to make sure it is tuning in over there. Now, again, the next thing I have been looking at is some cryptocurrency related. I don't really want to cover the negativities of all of DeFi. I think most of us understand where it's headed in terms of just more eyes on everything, which is fine, more regulation, which is fine, and more, you know, basically similar to what we're seeing with GME, the little guys getting absolutely wrecked. God forbid you bought, like, you know, one GME stock at the all-time high in the last, you know, 7 days or so. You're now sitting on something like 40, 50, 60% losses. Imagine if you put your entire life savings into that. God forbid. Dear Lord, save us all. Because the powers that be clearly don't want anyone making ludicrous trades. No, clearly the powers that be don't want, you know, people to be able to do their own thing, I guess. You know, maybe they like want their stock to go up and they buy their stock and then they decide to dilute it by 45 million. Oof. Oof. Now, I'm going to see how low this is all going to go and whether or not there is going to be recovery, because I haven't seen many tweets much tweets following the announcement from GME, which is unfortunate because it is frustrating. Now, let's have a look at something like HEX, which I know is down 53%. Now, I made a brief video, right, and it was actually, I think, up close to, if I can pull it up, down 53. It was up 47.5%. Now, maybe, just maybe, at this point in time, you decide you've had enough with GME, which I personally haven't. I still think if I don't know, I still think it is possible to see ungodly things take place on the GME stock, but it now is extremely difficult to achieve to physically move the price of a stock which is unloaded 45 million with an M. I mean, it could be worse, it could be a billion, and just nuke the entire price to zero to take advantage of the recent 50% upward increase and then dump on everyone's head whilst the diamond hands sit and watch their stocks. So I have witnessed, not GME, but I have witnessed many a time actual stocks, penny stocks, go to literally zero, gone, liquidation, and you don't get anything. Now, cryptocurrency, it is a lot harder to do that. However, it's still not impossible, but people will say that HEX on Ethereum is dead and things like that. But let's have a look at what could take place. What could take place? Well, I know I've been DCing in ever so slowly, and don't ever do this, but I made a small ladder. Now, don't ever show you what you're doing, because it's the worst decision in the world to do. This is why I wasn't going to make any video, but I put it in my calendar, so I thought I can't not do it. Right? Now, there's actually people here. Good God, it's a miracle. Thank you. Let's check chat. Oh, what's happening? Oh. Yeah, that is a very good point. One could point out that people saying one thing, and is there going to be a follow-up saying, I don't know. What is Ethereum HEX? It's down pretty hard right now, right? 0.01. Oh, wait, that's combined including, so 0.02 something. 0.01. Oh, that is low, man. Oh my God. Now, people with lots or huge bags of it don't care so much. However, the recovery stage that is going to be required to sort of, you know, these defibrillators, and they have to shock the to get the heart going again, because the pulse is very weak over on Ethereum, if not completely gone. It is a shame. There is large individuals over there, I assume, who do not wish to see it disappear. However, it will be up to the Hexicans themselves to provide liquidity. As you are pointing out that, you know, something's down more than 95%, will it recover? Now we can say, well, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that have done that, etc., yes, but that's sort of tried and true and did take place, theorizing that if we go back to look at GME is making a comeback to all-time high, 1,000 per stock after 45 million has just been released into the wild at market value, is a difficult position to put oneself in if you thought it was going to take place in that way. Now, going back to HEX on Ethereum, I really think there are some issues over at Ethereum. If Ethereum can fix their fees, yes, it might come back. However, I just can't help but think no one seems to talk about HEX anymore. No one seems to care about it. All they do, which is like fine, I guess, because if you're intelligent enough to, I don't know, do your own thing legally and lawfully and launch your own tokens, whatever, and they are successful, which is good, you've created economic energy. But I can't see myself, if I have a business and I've got a, you know, business A fails for all intents and purposes, sends me bankrupt, have huge losses. Okay, you can carry over some of the losses, maybe, I don't know. Then you create business B. Business B is quite successful, ticking along. Is it in your best interest to take energy out of business B, which is successful and growing, put it back into business A, which is for all intents and purposes dead? I don't think it is. Think about it. When you see mechanics and the cars, usually the type of cars they drive, you don't very often see mechanics drive Lamborghinis, Ferraris around. Usually they drive other cars which are easy to repair because they understand maybe that, because of the reliability issue. So you would look at it and say, well, this car's extremely reliable, parts are cheap, easy to source, I can repair them like that. The fluids and lubricants, I don't know why I find that funny, are readily available, and there's a huge aftermarket support there, and you don't really see them, driving around Lamborghinis, which are expensive to fix because they know that and they don't want to be paying all that money to fix it. So maybe, just maybe, it is a similar thing we are seeing whereby people are realizing Ethereum at this current point in time is wrecked. The only people that are going to be holding on to this are the diehard hexagons on Ethereum side. Myself, I've basically abandoned it. I borderline am not, mind you, I'm a small player, I'm borderline not ending stakes unless it's actually profitable to do so. Then once you do so, the question is, what are you doing then? Why bother? Especially if Ethereum fees are high, it's becoming problematic, I would say. Now, we do see here on post-chain HEX, the argument, there's a different chart. We do see that post-chain is still under sacrifice. We still see PulseX still under sacrifice. INC, which has been arguably the standout, is ticking along nicely. I had no idea. I did not think we'd be able to retain this level of price for this long period, and most likely people are benefiting from this through yield farming and extracting value and doing with it whatever they want. Because I know myself, if I was able to do that, I would be doing that. And I'm looking at ways to be able to, in essence, have a similar method to generate income perpetually within an ecosphere without hopefully murdering the price of the entire thing. So for whatever reason HEX is down on Pulse-chain as well. For whatever reason, it's almost dead on Ethereum, and no one's coming to save it. I don't know what point. I can't see myself stumbling, winning the lotto and going, okay, I want to buy a whole lot of EHEX. I mean, yeah, the T-shares do their thing, but we've seen what happens when it's not supported, I think, on Ethereum proof of work and Ethereum Fair. That never got support from the actual decentralized website, which you run yourself. It never had the support of that. And currently, I'm pretty sure those prices are very suppressed. Now, I'm trying to think where I was going with all this. I was going to cover, I said a whole lot, right? A lot just then. Now, where was I? All right, cool. So, interesting. Now, GME wrecked. GME company decided to, I would say, to be fair, they're pointing out they have no idea why the price is pumping, and so maybe they just the window of opportunity is there. Just like when we saw HEX, it was at all-time highs on Ethereum, things like that. If you're lucky to take the opportunity to, then you would probably most likely see mad gains, be in profit, etc., etc. If not, maybe, arguably, are you backing a losing horse? I don't know, right? I wish I knew the future, but it is not good to live in a fantasy world where shit is not happening that you think is happening. For instance, if you think some magical, mystical being is coming to save us all on Ethereum or even Pulse-chain, then most likely your expectations are going to be met with utmost you'd be upset, I would say. Utmost disappointment. Now, the next thing, so I'm kind of shitting on everything right now, which is not my intention at all. My intention is to point out, if you are following this GME shit show, I myself, too, may have purchased some GME stocks, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked by whatever whatever took place with this GME enters 45 minute share agreement. This is typical of the particular stocks that I used to discover back in the day when I was playing around. Like I said, saw things go to zero. Now, the next thing is HEX. Now, you might say it's dead and gone, it's buried, it's never coming back, which I don't think so, because again, Pulse Chain is L1. Pulse X is the DEX, one of the main DEXs, has the highest liquidity on Pulse Chain. And HEX, we all know what HEX is. HEX is doing its thing. Like I said, HEX is still doing its thing over on Ethereum. One day, if Ethereum ever does fix their fees, there is the potential there to make some gains, especially for the purchase now or, near the lows. Who knows where they are? Is this the bottom? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know the timeline. We don't know the future. Now, HEX on Pulse Chain, I know for a fact is down about 53% since the last 90 days. It's kind of working in my favor. Basically, I have a little plan to DCA in ever so slightly with fresh money, and hopefully remember that I have these particular stakes and pay off some other debt, and then by the time 90 days has passed, I'll look back and go, oh look, I forgot I had this money, nice, I can then do what I want with it, plus I'll have the debt paid off, plus I'll be doing my other thing. I think I call it the Uber challenge. It literally is a challenge. Now, I haven't got my screenshots. It's Friday here. It's never really overly busy doing Uber Eats. It's not like you're gonna make $1 billion. However, with the right tools and the know-how and how to apply them, maybe you're okay. But if you just put all your money into GME recently, you most likely got wrecked. However, die on hands, you're only locking your losses. And to be fair, if you DCA in still on something like GME, you will see if your brokerage account allows you to show it, it'll show you your average buying price. So if the next one is, if it drops 50% from here, GME, your buying price will be lower and lower until eventually you might be lucky enough to get into profit, because God forbid something happens later on and the price surges again. And it does hit $1,000 US. That would be, it would be extremely funny because that would destroy the shorters. But like I said, it's made that statistically a lot more improbable because of this 45 million deployment of, shares at the market price. Anyway, now back to this, like I said, say you have been slowly staking in, then you'll see what takes place once every, however you want to set up yours. You can see that will end. And then you have the choice to sell them, buy them, restake them, add more. And at the current moment, I'm thinking about applying more capital. So what's going to happen? It's sort of a compounding effect, because if you look at it right, I know it's not the 2000% APR of some yield farms and things like that, but it's better. Mind you, it's in HEX terms, and it still is. It's getting better. It is better than, the cash rate, for instance, something like an actual term deposit. Most term deposits are never used for money that you need immediately. So maybe you're going to get a higher percent, similar to longer pays better, and you have $10,000 lying around. You're not going to be thinking, okay, this $10,000 I'm going to turn into 100,000, $1 million, and then flip it all, just dump it. It's most likely you're going to say, okay, I have mustered together this $10,000. I'm going to put it in a certificate of deposit, and I'm going to sit and wait, and later on I'll be lucky enough to get some extra income 10 years later. And now you're not going to sit there and wait and look at this thing for 10 years and go, okay, I can't wait for my little amount to come out. That's probably not what's going to happen. So I thought I would take that approach with a small ladder, and I would DCA in. And like I said, because the price has decreased over 90 days by 52.3%, maybe I'll buy again a day or two or something like that, just a small amount, add it to this little mini ladder, and then maybe some of these are ending. If you're not familiar with HEX, that's what an end state button looks like. You can click that button, you can end it, and you can then, yield of X amount of HEX, have that. In addition to your initial principal, which was purchased at XYZ, but now because the price is lower, maybe my initial amounts, I can get almost like a lot more than I initially could. So that will work out in my mind good, because I will then be able to get more principal and then be able to get more t-shirts. So currently this is an example of what one t-shirt looks like, right? I don't know if you noticed that there. T-shirt's one. Now, some people might just have one. Some people might have an extended out ladder like this. I don't know how people's minds work. Now, I think this is going to work okay, because like I said, at the end of 90 days, I've forgotten about this money. It's still there. If I will go back and check it, I'll go, cool, I've got something to play with. Maybe I sell some of it, but I won't have to use this money to then pay off another debt, because I paid that other debt off. So it's kind of working in the background, which is good. Imagine you ramp up and have larger figures, add some zeros, it starts getting more serious. Maybe you want to have a look at this stuff and, be a lot more secure with it, not show other people, not tell other people, etc, etc, etc. But at these levels, like I said, it's very low. The next thing, this one here, if you want to as well, this is, if you're unfamiliar with some of this, you might really have to drill in deep how to use cryptocurrency and how to be able to do something simple like use Microsoft Edge AI and ask, what is DeFi? What is the highest yield? Apparently, the highest yield is about 80%. It's on, I think it's Uniswap v3. But for some reason, Microsoft Edge isn't actually pulling the numbers from PulseX. So as we can see here, if you wanted to, you can make a farm for 86.4%. I'll let you try and figure out what that means. But as I've been DCAing in to HEX as well, I've been DCAing into very small farms. Extremely small farms. However, they're paying small amounts of INC, as you can see here, very small amounts. But over time, if you just leave this grow, continue on, or if you had larger bags, maybe it becomes, like a little side gig similar to Uber Eats that you come back to one day, and maybe it's got something that you might want to do with that money. So for instance, you want to monitor your position and go, oh yeah, for $100, yeah, I forgot about that. I'll sell that and pay off some debt, but you've already got your plan in place. You're paying off other debt to start off with, so maybe that's not relevant. Maybe you just want to leave it there and let it keep ticking over. I did read somewhere, I think it's on the actual farm itself, where if you provide LP for PulseX and Pulse Chain, it does actually help with the burn function. Now, research into that as you want. That is about it. So this is my little side hustle, I guess. It's the Hexagon stakes, the PulseX farming, which is very basic stuff. Now, I know there's a lot of other stuff out there, but I'm too ill-informed to be able to understand how all that works, so I'm not going to touch on any of that, right? We can have a look here. Is there anything pumping? Because that's apparently all people care about, similar to GME, and how the pump took place and how exciting it all was, and then how we saw everything get wrecked because of the actual function of how businesses can create equity, right? And and just wreck shit. So that's kind of like an equivalent of understanding what, I don't know, who's buying and who's selling, and how the prices on cryptocurrency are actually functioning, versus the story behind it. Oh, this has a wonderful story, up and to the right, or it's experimental, or it's, feedback loops, tokenomics. It's a wonderful story, right? But then if something like an event takes place like this, so GME, say it's a wonderful story, little guy going up against the monsters, and then the monsters decide to do special things that the little guy can't do. It's kind of sad to see, to be honest. Like, it kind of just points out even more so that this system is rigged against you. Unless you understand the rules, it's very hard for people to progress in this particular space. Um, I can't help but feel for the people who got in near the all-time high, whilst people, all essence were dumping on their heads. Let's be honest. Yeah, but again, you have to understand that's part of what takes place. I think there was a comment before, something about if something is down 95%, it's not a good look at all. And you can't hide that data. It's all on chain. We can go back and have a look and analyze what took place. And yeah, I personally wish it never happened. I thought up until the RAF ever, I thought $1 HEX. I thought a whole lot of things now, which was a good story to abide by. However, what actually took place appears to be somewhat different, which is, just the way it is. Now, yes, there was the whole post-chain airdrop. However, it's currently down, more than where is it? The sacrifice rate. So had you have bought in, just today, you could have bought more than you sacrificed. Potentially, there were some large pools, but not pools. There were some large sacrifices, which you got a higher sacrifice rate, which is kind of cool. But for the most part, little guys maybe they didn't get that. Now, the other thing is, though, the one positive I would say is that when the sacrifice was taking place, it was near the all-time highs. Now, you would have potentially locked in some of those gains, and then you're doing okay, which is also kind of cool. But again, the people who came in and just were expecting instant, I don't know, what, even a 10x from here, and it's not happening, again, they might be a bit disappointed, maybe because they had expectations. Maybe they shouldn't have had expectations. But at this point in time, right, after I remember a stream where it was like so many people, there's only so many people left who get rinsed, right? You've rinsed these people, you've rinsed these people, you've rinsed these people. And who's left? Now, if people are looking at this as if they've been rinsed, how many more people on the back of this are going to be coming in and going, I'm going to ape into HEX, Pulse Chain, Pulse HEX, the shit. Maybe they're going to be like ape into Pulse Chain HEX, that shit, that maybe they have a different approach to it. Which again is unfortunate because I hope, I pray to God that, although it's not going to help, I do hope that this does recover. I don't think it's going to be an easy, quick recovery. I think it's going to be a long, drawn out, painful kind of almost teaching us all a lesson recovery because we all did this. The reason this price is the way it is because I did this, because you did this. If you're in this ecosphere, if you're outside this ecosphere laughing at us all, then it's all by any means continue to do so. But there were a lot of people that did make it good. They made it large. There are some influencers. They're kind of getting larger. I don't think they're yet to really punch out of the ecosphere. I do think there are some very it's kind of in the stage now where, for myself, I've lost a lot of interest in all of this stuff. Now, that's not to shit on everything cool being built, because there's probably a shit ton of stuff I'm missing. Like I said before, the experimental stuff, all the builders that did try there and put their hand up and actually do a lot more than I accept. Just crapping on everything. There was some real innovation. There still is. However, the protocols, I don't think the lending ones, etc., are quite bringing in the eyes and ears and hearts and minds of individuals who they thought they might be attracting, although they sort of claim to have amazing intentions and sort of all be about freedom of speech, freedom of movements, and be libertarian-esque or whatever. It might have just all been a marketing ploy by which it has failed miserably, because as we can see, there is not many people talking about HEX anymore. There is not many people even talking about Pulse Chain outside of the Pulse Chain ecosphere. I mean, they did have the conference recently, but I skimmed over some of that. And again, it's just people trying their best, people struggling through, trying to stay relevant, trying to, hit the nail on the head on how to go viral. But without green candles, a lot of this is going to be very difficult to put forward a logical argument as to why someone should even talk about this with other people. Now, I did my part. I did get some stickers. I explained to some people that, this is kind of this and that. But I didn't want to go into it because I can't, like I said, I've always said, never ever do what I do. So basically, I'm trying to think how to word this. I do extremely risky moves, right? I'm quite comfortable with that risk. I take it on board, quite happy if it all goes to zero. Like hashtag GME, hashtag HEX, If it all goes to zero, okay, I understand the risk. But if I'm going to go out there and be like, explain X, Y, Z to someone, and then show them, expose them to that, and then knowing that what if something goes wrong? I'm not comfortable with doing that at all. You could argue, look at the content you have, etc., etc. So yeah, I know, but I pointed out every single fucking time. I said, actually, I'm not sure I did, but I think in the very first videos I pointed out very early, and continuing on the videos I've always said unofficial manner, etc., etc. Really look into this. I've never said you go buy this and it's going to do this. All I did was point out logic and facts. Try to anyway. Because I honestly thought that this was again going to be something that would free myself from the shackles of the 9-to-5s, which had people continued to do their 9-to-5s probably would have performed okay relative to the price of some cryptocurrencies and some stocks, because not many people are retiring because of GameStop. Not many people in the context of the entire world are retiring due to HEX. Now, that can change, but what I'm finding hard, right, is this little ladder here. The price is going to have to do a lot, but mind you, it's not time. The old saying, it's not time in the market. It's not timing the market. It's time in the market. So it could perform quite well in the next 5-10 years, right? So in the next 5-10 years, I can turn these alerts off. If it does perform very well, then a lot of people will be happy. However, what have they done in the meantime? So far, what I've seen is people age about 4 years. We've all aged 4 years, of our lives. We've given up. That time is never coming back. Now, I hope you all have spent your life the way you expected to spend it. And I hope you're all happy in the way in which you are doing it now, because there's no coming back from this. Time goes in one way, generally, unless we figure out going back in time, which is kind of difficult. But maybe, just maybe, this is why we should be looking at things like, life extension. That sounds so bad. It's because we're going to need 30 years for this thing to get to $1. I'm kidding. But in all honesty, looking back over the last 4 years of your life, have you spent it wisely? Have you grown? Have you achieved more? Have you got a plan for the future outside of XYZ? Because, like I said before, although some have made it, some have more comfortable than others, there is most likely, as if you remember the leagues of back in the day, Staker, just think about the leagues, the numbers of the higher ranking individuals on those leagues versus the lower ranking individuals. Just think about how the performance of their portfolios might be looking now in relation to that, and think basically what I'm trying to say, there was less people with larger amounts, and there was more people with less. Now, this plays out in every I hate to say it, this plays out in every ecosphere. Now, this is not unique to HEX. It's not unique to even Bitcoin. Think about some people that have a fraction of Bitcoin and some large whales that have a lot of it. Now, think about society. Some people have a lot of money. Some people have less. Quite often, you shouldn't be listening to people with less money. So, yeah, just stop listening right now. Just turn me off. Done. But most of the time, the people with lots of money aren't exactly going to tell you how they got made their money. Think about it, right? I was out and about, just couldn't help but listen to this conversation. The person was like talking to another person, I'm not sure if the other day or something. Like, so how did you get to where you are now? The person was like, I can see the mind ticking over. Like, he's like, dude, no one's just going to tell you, like, do this XYZ and you're going to make it. Now, and I can't help but think sometimes in the content that we all consume, maybe there's some stuff going on in the background that is similar to that. And then you look on chain and go, oh, maybe something else is happening, that we're not actually realizing. Now, anyway, that's enough. Hopefully you got something from that. Hopefully it probably points out what everyone already knew, that you have to be careful with this sort of stuff. Pointing out that at any time GameStop can roll out a $45 million share agreement in the midst of a meme war of some sort, and things can go down 95%, if not more. And if you do sort of what's the word? You don't hedge your bets. You don't have a plan B, C, D, E, or F. Then who's to blame? The past 4 years have gone on and on and on. Everyone keeps saying green candles, and no doubt, I can't help but think it is going to recover. It is going to U-turn. We're going to see some insane things, most likely on the HEX front. But it's going to take time, people. Right? It's going to take a lot of time. A lot of people are hurting. Inflation is just destroying everyone. Your purchasing power is just since 2019. Think about, I saw a meme on X, how much shopping you used to be able to get for, say, $200. You're getting like 1/5 of that amount now. And if that is your life, because we all need to eat, everyone has to eat, all your money is going to bills, electricity, energy, food consumption. So I'm trying to think how to recategorize that. You could arguably say energy because you need energy to consume fucking food to function, but I'm talking about like the price of electricity. I'm talking about the price of food, and most likely either rent or mortgage. And then I saw a meme on X as well pointing out, it's like the bank won't lend you money to pay off a $1,500 a month mortgage, but they'll allow you quite happily to pay $2,500 in rent. It's like, and to add to that meme, I remember I'm like thinking, most likely there's a high chance some of those houses are actually owned by the bank already. And so they're the ones getting the money when you think about it technically, because if you have a look at, you could say mortgage-backed securities, but securitization of a mortgage, just think about it. It's kind of a bad position we're in currently. Now, we're also seeing things like the digital ID bill, which I'm not sure is going to be as bad as they say. I can't see it getting better. And I can't see the freedoms being taken away in the cryptocurrency space ever coming back. So if we're all going to pretend that doesn't matter, and we're going to pretend that these, like, I don't want to shit on the protocols or the people behind the protocols. It's not that. It's just, if you're in an echo chamber and if you don't realize that you're under attack and you think everything's good, then it's unlikely that you're going to try and put up a defense. Now, think about it like in the context of, you can go larger into that. You can say, well, think about, I guess you could say, oh, we're being ruled by government, and you could say government's evil or something like that. Or you can just point out logically that, more government usually wastes more, generally speaking. So less government might waste less, is my argument. And if you then like sort of scale out, you can say, well, why do we need all these, ongoing wars? Whatever country you're from, why do we need all these differences to cause and stoke these wars? And ultimately, it comes back to the dollar, and you scale it back in a little bit closer to home. It's like, why do I do the things I do? Why do I earn? Why do I work? To pay the bills, to pay the rent, to get by, right? And so the same thing. It's like, why do people become politicians? To get by. Maybe they're not in it to change the world. Maybe they're in it just to get by. And so where is their intentions? It's not to save the world. Their intentions are just purely to get by, to earn more. And you apply this at every single level. Like, how many people actually go to work and love what they do the best they can do? If they did, there's a chance we would live in a better society. Like, if you really love going to the gym and getting completely ripped, most likely you will have a better performance than people who don't enjoy being there, Similarly to work, similarly to a hobby. If you really like your hobby, you really want the best, maybe you start competing and then maybe you start doing really well in it. But quite often, not so much with hobbies and things like that, but I think the motivation behind it is lacking. We're just constantly wasting time and effort on whatever we think is good. Whether or not it's profitable is ultimately sad, but as I talk this out loud and sort of talk to myself about it, it's almost like maybe everything is about the almighty dollar, And on that note, I'll wrap this one up, yeah. Alright, so good luck everyone out there, because you're going to need it, because hard times are coming ahead. I can't help but think, and whether or not you're prepared for it, like I said, I'm not like a clairvoyant here, but pointing out that things since HEX was released, for example, have they got better or worse? Is the price of HEX a result of the economy as a whole? Is the price of HEX a result of everything that ties into the economy? Obviously people's living standards, but we've seen people's health, we've seen people's mental state, we've seen people's ability to earn. How have things improved since 2019, since the all-time highs even of HEX? Outside of that, how has your life improved? What has I could blame each and every one of you individually, and say that you're the reason why you're not achieving more. But think about it, like, if you're looking at the government, for example, and say, what have they done to make my life better? I can't see much. What has strangers done to make my life better? I can't see much. So I don't think we've got other people to blame here except each other, and I just want to point that out, that it might sound really, really negative, but it's trying to ultimately wake us all up for some greater good. Some people might say that's bullshit, everyone just wants money. I haven't launched shit. I have not shielded nothing. I mean, I pointed out things that I think might be relevant, maybe help someone. I don't think anyone's even going to listen to this. If anything, I've made an embarrassment of myself. If anything, I've, what's it called? Brought shame to my family and my bloodline, of which I'm not actually 100% sure. But yeah, like I said, I hope this all recovers. I hope it gets better. But if it doesn't, then what? it's just going to be more of the same shit. It's just going to be, okay, we're going to focus on one thing and ignore everything else. Maybe this thing gets better, maybe it doesn't, right? And then as we do that, we continue to see the loss of freedoms. The freedom of speech, the freedom of movement, the sacrifice, the actual, the things that were going to make the world a better place. It's been 4 years. It's been a year, and I haven't seen shit get done. Nothing. I mean, yeah, some stuff have been built, yeah, but like I'm saying, we are degenerating as a society across the world, and if we don't like fix our shit, then I can't see Hex getting to $1 if the economy is wrecked, if we're in a constant state of war, if we're in a constant state of fear. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. I don't know, people. I don't know. But that is my thoughts for the day. It's a bit, like I said, a little bit, it might sound depressing, but go back and listen to it. Just take it in. Try and understand. And then apply it. And then think, what's got better since Hex was released? What's got better since Pulse Chain was released? How are we doing so much better? I was going to say, go check Roaring Kitty's memes. Yeah, we haven't seen one for ages with 12 minutes ago, so one just dropped. So it's still there. It's still there. It's okay. But yeah. But yes. What else? What else? What else? I can't think of much. But yeah, like I said. So everything I've said, I'm still going to DCA in small amounts into Hex and Pulse Chain, Pulse X, INC, and create little mini farms, maybe some bigger farms. And I'm going to sit and wait and watch. And then once it all pumps to the fucking moon, excuse my language, I'm going to be the guy on the internet who says, I fucking told you all. Ha 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 ha. And then I will have to figure out some way to make the world a better place. Because at the moment, there's no point trying to make the world a better place from my position. Like I said, I'm a millionaire, not a trillionaire, not a billionaire. So it's unlikely I have much weight in the space. I'm not in a position of power to do so. People are just waking up to the GME. I don't think people understand how fucking shares works. It's hilarious. But yeah. Thinking about, okay, so before I close, just thinking about what took place with GME, right? Wasn't the whole, this is the sick part. The whole point was to, destroy the shorters, right? Because shorters got wrecked because the price went up. Think about what happened when it hit the all-time high. If people were locking in shorts and then it did what it did now, think about how much money they just made. Because I'm not seeing articles being pumped out pointing out how much shorters just lost in this announcement from GameStop. It's most likely the shorters could have made back a lot of money in this particular space. So based on that logic, I can't help but think we're all getting really good at listening and being herded into particular channels. Like, depending on who you follow, you follow this person, you have this thought. You follow this person, you have this thought. Previously, it was the mainstream media, and it was one sort of, not hive mind, but one sort of message, narrative, propaganda sort of thing taking place that we would all think is true, which is fine, because you would then do that to every single country, and then they would pit each other against each other. You would have a news article, this country's bad, and then in their news, they would have the article that this country's bad, and everyone would believe that. And then maybe there's a subsection of groups within that maybe disagree. Maybe they're the conspiracy theorists, or maybe they're just completely insane. And they would have different ideas. And previously, what would you do? There was no internet, there was no social media, there was no ham radios or some shit. But now we have social media, and everyone's more accessible, and it's so much easier to spread whatever you want to spread. So, for instance, I can jump on here and say whatever I think is correct. I think personally I was born with the right to do so, and people can follow, people can disagree, and then or they can just go, no, that was full of shit, no, that was relevant, etc., etc. Now, I think personally there is a chance for humanity as a whole to discover the correct talking points and sort of guide this entire planet into the right direction. But it's most likely going to be from the ground up. So from the little guys, and the little guys' ideas, who hopefully are good, are going to somehow change the world. Now, people might laugh and go, that's never going to happen. But I hate to tell you, but this is slowly what's been taking place on the internet. Now, this is why I think the push for censorship is so strong, because we see how well it's working in countries like China, and the Chinese people are being hugely suppressed. I saw some conditions, it's kind of sucks. And if you talk about this sort of stuff, maybe people disagree and sort of censor you out of the talking point, or you don't make it to get to the eyes and ears and hearts and minds of other people, because for whatever reason, maybe the algorithm's set to promote the transgender or something like that. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure how to game it. Otherwise, I'd be a billionaire right now. So people that are billionaires or multimillionaires, it's even if you don't like them, maybe figure out how they got to that position, right? You know, it might be a good move. What next? And people that are under attack, maybe just trying to figure out why they're under attack, why they're not, you know, so loved by the masses. Who knows? Is it because they are against the general consensus going on, even if that consensus is wrong? Or is it because they're correct? And like, you know, some people were, like when it came to the lockdowns, pointing out that freedoms were being taken and some things might have been done in haste and fear as opposed to legal and lawful requests. Later on, it was discovered, yes, it was a lot of it was illegal. But at the time, we were running around with face diapers on, you know, thinking it was going to save us all. If you thought and if you followed XYZ, there are the very few out there who didn't submit, who pushed back and continued to remember the past, and current day, their facts are still true. Right? They still have the same talking point. They still say and tell everyone, go, this is what it was, this is how it happened, this is what I witnessed, right? This is why. And now it's like, oh, they were right. How were they right? How did they just know? We all rely on AI. What if AI is wrong? What if AI is the next big deception? What if people are like, oh, by the way, you know, oh, you can't be right anymore because I have AI. It's like, okay. What if there's what if there's abilities that humans are born with, right? The ability of the heart, for instance, the ability of the mind, the ability of the gut, the ability of intuition. How can you program that into a battlefield? How can you program that into AI on the internet? You could program it out of the system quite easily because it doesn't exist to start off with. These are things I think about, right? What else? Oh yeah, crypto. Yeah. If you think crypto is gonna make it, when it's low you buy. If you think stock's gonna make it, when it's low you buy. If you don't think it's gonna make it, then you run away, run far away and never return. Yeah, that is about it. So we'll see. We'll see how much everyone can destroy me. And destroy my beloved crypto and destroy my beloved stocks. We shall see how much I can be crushed by the world. We shall see how much I can be torn apart by society as a whole, you know. But for now, free speech, signing out.